So Balla, maybe before we even talk, you should play something for us just to put us in the mood. What do you think?
Sure, sounds great to me.
What would you like to play?
This first piece I'm going to play called Sunjata, because the whole reason why Balla's and his family, the griot society, we here today because of Sunjata. He's the man who decided our family to be the jolly, to do our role in our society. So I'd like to start this evening performance with the Sunjata. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
Wow, that's fantastic, Balla. It's really, it's always such a pleasure to hear you play, man. It's just the best. I'm sure they're applauding all across the country now, though we can't hear them.
Thank you. Thank you.
So you're playing the song for Sunjata, who was the first king of the Malian Empire, starting in like 1235, and that empire lasted a couple of hundred years, and so many stories surrounding that. But let's talk about the story of your family and the very first balafon, which you've told me before, but let's share that with folks.
Okay. Yeah. The first balafon called Soso Bala, and my family today, and this has been there for a long time, and I believe the balafon, that was the same balafon was a plan for Sunjata back in the 1235. So today, when you talk about jelly history or the history of Manding, I believe you cannot even talk about Manding history without my family, because of what happened. Even I know we have so many different ingredients today. We're all sharing the same tradition, same culture, but the Kouyaté family was the first griot to begin with. Okay, so I believe it was a lot of important people, a lot of king, um, queen before Sunjata. But the reason why Sunjata became very famous in the Manding society, because he was the king who was able to unite the Manding people. Because like today, when you talk about Manding, a lot of people don't, I don't think people really understand the concept of Manding.
Wow.
Manding is the area, people who live there as a Mandinka. You see, it's like when you say United States of America. Is the area, the people who live here are American. So that Manding people, Sunjata was able to unite those people together. You see, that's why Sunjata became so powerful in our nation. So back that time, the instrument was playing for Sunjata was the balafon, Sosobala. And that same Sosobala still in my family today. My father is the guardian of that first one. Actually, my father just turned 100 and it's still there.
That's incredible. So this instrument, and the instrument, where is it exactly?
The instrument is in the village and the border between Mali and Guinea, the village called Nyagasola.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Yes.
So sorry, I've got a dog who wants to.
It's okay.
So the back in the beginning when Sunjata was having the balafon played for him, tell us a little bit more about you're talking about the jollies. A lot of people know the word griot, which is another word, not the proper word, but a common word for the jolly or the jelly. But tell us about what was the role of the jelly in the life of Sunjata and in the life of royal and court people in those days.
Well, the role of the jolly, I'm not talking about the jolly art today. It's not all about just performing, making the money. The jolly, we're the needles of our society. We saw people. We're the peacemaker. Okay, so we not just performer, we recount the family history through the music. For example, back that time, what did my father tell me? Balla Faseke, which is my ancestor, was an advisor for Sunjata. He's an advisor. If Sunjata was making any decision, he will go by my ancestor, ask his advisors about. If he sees something wrong, he's gonna tell him, I know he's the king, but I don't think this is the right things to do. So it was only the men at the time who can come tell him, not what to do, but just advise him the right things to do. And
so special license there. He can speak truth to power, as we say.
Exactly. So that's different than just being one right man to someone, or advising somebody to do the right thing. Because back then, when before even Sunjata become Sunjata, it was a Sumaworo Kante who was a really powerful man, and then Manding nation. So Sumaworo was the guy who's nobody allowed to come talk to him about anything. Okay, so it was at the time. It just reminded a little bit the concept what we're going on right now, that's COVID-19. Everybody wearing a mask. Okay, see, because back in the Sumaworo time, no man and a woman are allowed to talk without having your mouth covered.
Mm.
You see, but it was a different material because they was using the gourd, like the similar kind of gourd I have it ended in my balafon. It's a different size. Huh. So you have to cover your mouth. That's how powerful. I don't even call that power. That was a dictatorship because they have so much, power. Everybody afraid of him. So it was only Sunjata was able to send my ancestor, Balla Kouyaté, to go tell him what the right things to do. So you see, so the Jalia is not about just a go performing and making the money. It's also bringing people together. Because no matter what, we all don't think the same way. We don't all react the same way. And sometimes a power can destroy somebody, because when you have so much power, you think it's nothing can, do anything to you. So one of the jelly role was just to go, because nobody, when Sunjata asks, who can I send to go tell the Sumoru Kante my message? It was nobody was available. It's only my ancestor, Balla Kouyaté, raised his hand and said, me, I'm gonna go.
Wow.
So Jelia is about honesty.
Honesty.
It's about doing the right thing. Okay, making a peace between two countries, two villages, between the wife and the husband. That's all the Jelia is about. And it reminding people where they come from. Because we believe you can only know where you're heading to if you know where you came from.
That's great. That's great. When you have power, you feel like you can do anything. Now that sounds a bit familiar, but anyway, let's not go there. You know, the idea of this role where you're both a musician and a performer and a guardian of history and an advisor, it's very unique. There's really nothing quite like that anywhere in the world. And you know, it's interesting, the time that I spent in Mali, I was always really amazed at the way young kids knew the story that you're telling. Right. You know, how many American kids know what was happening anywhere in 1235, you know? I mean, it's really remarkable. And I think that gives people a special kind of power when you have that sense of going back that far and you can see the continuity, don't you think?
Definitely, definitely.
Yeah. Well, maybe we should have another song. I don't know. What do you think?
Sure. Let's play it. I'm just happy to be here. So
I'm getting some questions about the instrument itself, and we'll get into that. But let's hear another song.
Sounds great. Thank you. So this next piece I'm going to play is called Jelia. Jelia, which means God created the music of art. So now, since we're in the 21st century, I'm using the pedal. So I'm gonna raise what I just did, and I'm gonna go ahead and play the lambam for you guys. Thank you.
Be good. Wow, fantastic. Beautiful. Jelia, the art of the jelly.
Thank you. Yes,
Now,
Jalia.
now Balla, I'm sure people are noticing that you're using a rhythm track, a basic part, and because so much of a lot of African music, but certainly Manding music, has to do with the way different parts lock together and kind of talk to each other, right? And I noticed that there are some melodies that you were playing over the basic part that I recognize that are part of the song and of the way various people have played it. But there's also a lot of improvising and just riffing. And talk about the role of improvising in this music.
The role of improvising, you mean?
Yeah, improvising in Manding music and the music you're playing.
Well, the improvisation on the music, I think, making the music more interesting than just keep playing in that pattern, keep recycling the same. So usually the song just to play Julia or the first song Sunjata. Usually when those are playing with a balafon, you will see it still happen today. You will see like a 20 or 15, 20 balafon lined up. Everyone playing an accompaniment for the others. So for the one who playing the social bala, it's only him allowed to improvise. You see?
I see. So you can't have everybody improvising.
Exactly.
You know,
So to make the music more interesting, that's why if you look at either an ensemble or band or anything, they have the solo player. Everyone else do, their part, and it's only the solo players able to make the music more interesting.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's like having that license to talk, right?
Yeah, yeah.
You know, it's interesting. I mean, I think that's one reason why there's been a lot of interesting collaboration between Manding musicians and jazz musicians, because they share that idea of a structure and of a
Definitely.
repertoire of songs that every time you play, it's going to be a little different. And also this very important role of personal expression through improvising.
Definitely. That's right.
Now, that raises a question. Someone asked here if it was more difficult to learn to play the balafon than to learn to play the piano. Do you have any? I'm going to ask another question, but would you have any thoughts about that?
I would say pretty much. That's a challenging question. I would say it depends. How bad you want it, because any instrument you want to learn, if you really want it, you can do it. But the difference is between the balafon and piano, because you play piano with your 10 fingers, all right? Or sometimes 8, it's depending on the player. But the balafon is only play with the 2 mallet.
Right.
So, and then also the difference is that the piano, they have the black key and the white key. So then on the original way, traditionally, everybody play one balafon. So this is just the new generation. This idea came from one of our fathers named Kelatigi Jabate. the first creation came from him.
Yes, I remember this now. And of course, that's the difference, right? I mean, but musically, in terms of music, you can play between a balafon and a piano, is that you don't have those in-between notes. You have a set scale. So
That's right.
Kouyaté, he, as I understand it, he made a second balafon that was tuned a half step differently so that he would have all the in-between notes. And he could play jazz and that's... Now I only see one balafon on the screen. Have you got two there? Do you do that?
I got two here.
Okay, first one's forward. I see. Okay, good. So you're doing that. That seems to be, Kouyaté really changed the whole tradition when he introduced that idea, didn't he?
Definitely. And Kouyaté was a father to me, and I admire him so much because it's knowledge. Because I don't want it to have, as growing up, I don't want it to have the limitation when it comes to play the music. I want to keep my tradition. In the meantime, I want to be able to play it with other tradition and artists. So that's why got that idea from Kouyaté. But of course, as a young generation, we're gonna try and how do you say it? We're gonna try and go step farther and to do our own things. Because now the one I have here, that allow me to have a quarter note. So usually, even us as African, we don't use a quarter note in our music that much.
The Ngoni can play quarter notes.
The Ngoni can. They can play the quarter notes, but our music is not based in that. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So you hear those quarter notes most of the time and in Arabic music, I believe.
Yeah, that's right. It comes from the north. Yeah, right.
That's right.
Huh.
Yeah.
Now, I want to talk a little bit about some of the interesting collaborations that you talk about wanting to extend and play other music beyond your tradition.
Sure.
There's one question that came in early that I thought was kind of interesting. Is I think Brian said in the beginning that the balafon is an ancestor of all the other marimba type instruments, and marimba, xylophone, all kinds of. I don't know. I'm not sure anyone knows when the absolute very first instrument like that came, but it was, I think, in Africa. And what do you know about the sort of whole evolution of this kind of instrument? I mean, can we even say that the balafon is an ancestor of the piano, because it is a struck? It's not a string that's struck, but piano is a percussion instrument. It's that striking that makes the sound. And it starts with this kind of instrument. I mean, as I say, I don't know if you know what the absolute oldest instrument is, but it's going way back.
Well, definitely. Okay, to answer to that question, it's yes. The balafon is the ancestor of the piano, marimba, xylophone, vibraphone, any type of those melodic instrument, melodic. It's the balafon is the ancestor. Let me put it this way. The balafon has been in my family. I'm not talking about the time of Samaro County. I'm talking about starting from Sunjata, okay, to now. The balafon has been in my family for 800 years. That's twice older than the United States. Okay? So the one that we say balafon today is because of the European, because the Africa, part of the 16th country, and Africa being colonized by the European. That 16th country, that's why we have the French language as our first language in Africa, and especially in Mali. But it used to call Balla, no phone on it. Because the European, when they said saxophone, vibraphone, and everything in that family, in that family, they added phone to it. You see? So it was just a Balla, B-A-L-A.
And it was the French who added on the phone.
It's the French that added the phone.
Oh,
it's like when they say griot, okay? But it's jolly. I mean, griot is just another way for a French to describe the jelly man.
Yeah.
Okay, so the balafon is the ancestor of all that. Does that answer your question?
I think it does. I think it does.
Okay.
Absolutely. That's very interesting. And I hadn't actually thought about the word before, but that makes total sense. Balla is what they called it since way back.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm really curious about some of the collaborations that you've been able to do. I mean, you've collaborated with a lot of people here. I'm not even going to try to list them all, but certainly Yo-Yo Ma comes to mind. But you've played in a lot of different contexts, jazz context, maybe you could just talk about some of those, and maybe you could even give us an example. Play something for us that is not from the tradition, something that you've learned through your experiences of collaborating. Can you do that?
Yeah, it's definitely. I can definitely play it something not tradition, traditional, not anything with my background.
Yeah, something you love, something you like to play.
Okay. All right. So let's do that, and then we continue with the question.
Yeah, good.
Great. Thanks.
Send this man to Cuba.
That's right. The reason why I choose to play the chen, I can play any different type of stuff. We have a very strong tradition connection between Mali and Cuba.
Yeah.
Back in the '60s, when Modibo Keita, was the president, Modibo and then Moussa Traoré time. So we used to have the cultural exchange between Cuba and Mali. So even today, it still happen. Things are a little different right now with this what's going on in the world, but it a few quite interesting collaboration between the Malian artists and the Cuban artists.
Yeah.
So that's why I choose to play that. And then I've even recorded a version of that in my album back in the day.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Of course, yeah. There were so many interesting things that came out of the musicians from both Mali and Guinea who went to Cuba.
That's right.
Bongana Maiga, who became one of the great arrangers of West African music.
Yeah, Bongana Maiga is still there. Yeah, he's still doing an amazing job.
Yeah, very interesting story that. So I have another interesting question here about the origins of the instrument. Nate Richardson writes in that the Camelongoni said was inspired by the hunter's bow, or originally the Lusangoni, not before the Camelongoni. And the question is there a connection between the very invention of the balafon and the blacksmith's hammer?
I don't think I hear that question properly.
Okay, well, the blacksmiths are griots and jellies. They're a special group of people, and I guess he's wondering if the act of hammering on the metal that the blacksmith did might have given people the idea for the balafon. Do you know anything about that, or is that just imagined?
Well, that might be, but no family came to claim and say, my ancestor built this instrument. If that was the case, that wouldn't be said, because what happened when you talk about Manding, everything started by, everybody was a farmer and a hunter. It was only two job Mandinka people was able to do back then. Either everybody's a farmer or everybody's a hunter.
Mm-hmm.
So it was the hunter have a very important role in our society. Okay, because back in the day they believe if you don't know how to hunt to provide for your family, you're not even gonna be able to get married because you cannot if you cannot provide for your family. So all Manding people was a hunter and and a farmer. So
Yeah.
it was a Kamalingoni. Before Kamalingoni, it was a Simbi. Simbi, that's the one who playing for the hunter. The two old instruments in the mining society is a balafon and a Simbi.
Simbi, yeah.
Simbi. So you can see some of those certificated documentary.
Yeah.
Playing with a Simbi or singing with a Simbi.
Yeah.
And it was another great singer, the hunter singer named Balla Jimba. And Mali was a blind guy, but it was very knowledgeable and famous in Mali, and a lot of history about the hunter.
Absolutely, and well, Salif, of course, he comes from a hunting family. His father was a great hunter chief.
That's right.
And so but that instrument, the simbi, it's the ancestor of all the kora and
all of the strength. Yeah, that's right.
And the dosangoni, kamagoni, that whole idea of making a gourd harp.
That's right.
Yeah, very interesting.
You know.
So again, I'm very curious about these collaborations that you've done. Can you talk about what was the hardest one? What was the one that made you really have to like practice or study or listen hard, or what was the one that challenged you the most?
I mean, they all do, but the one who really making me think, oh my gosh, all right. So I think I have a lot of job to do. Was when I was starting during the search about Yo-Yo Ma, and I saw the video of Yo-Yo when he was 7 years old.
With who now?
Huh?
Who are we talking about now?
Yo-Yo Ma.
Yo-Yo Ma. Okay, good.
Yeah, I saw the video. Can you guys hear me? Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so I saw the video about him when he was 7 years old and with his sister performing for John Kennedy. And as a 7 years old, there's the phrase he was playing and all that kind of stuff. I was like, oh my gosh, it's a similarity here. Even I know we're not the same generation, but he's been playing for that young age and see where he got, what he become today. You see? So then, just to keep it a long story short, and when they got in touch with me back in the 2009, okay? But before then, when I first moved here to Boston with my wife, I was trying to get in touch with him. When you get that famous, it's not easy to get in touch with them. So we get to the point, I was like, okay, oh, well, it is what it is. So let's right. So then I was in Minneapolis doing a residency. And one night I was in my hotel room, I got my phone ring. And I answered my phone. It was this friend of mine from New York who's calling me and say, hey, Ballas, I don't know if you remember me, it's been a while, but I still have your number. So I'm doing this project with the Yo-Yo Ma. So I was wondering if he's interested in doing it. First, I was like, what? What did you just say? And then he repeated again. I said, of course. And I'm definitely interested in doing a collaboration with Yo-Yo. So then after my work in Minneapolis, I came down in New York. We meet up and rehearse and recorded the first album with them called Piece of Joy in 2009. And the album won a Grammy back in 2009.
Amazing.
So since then, I've been working with them. I've been working with the Silk Road, with the Yo-Yo. And then the second album we recorded in 2016, that also won the Grammy in 2017. And actually, Tumani and I was a featuring in the album. Tumani Jabate and I was a featured artist in the album.
Okay. Couple of pieces of business here. One thing I should let everybody know that there is a Spotify playlist that features a number of the songs that Balla plays and with various things that he selected. You made this playlist, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So that can be found, I imagine, on the, oh, okay. It's being sent out to everyone. So you can see the link. And we heard also a little earlier from Kane Mathis. I don't know if you know him. He's a very good kora player and oud player. Kane Mathis, you know him. Anyway, but he was going into the details of the Sunjata story and pointing out that there was a connection between Samara Kante and the family of blacksmiths, right?
Yes, Kante are definitely blacksmith family.
So maybe that's where that idea came from. By the way, I would just suggest that people who are interested in this, there are many written versions of the Sunjata epic. It's been told in many ways over the years. The basic facts are the same, but there are all kinds of little differences between the different versions. But it's a really wonderful story. So I highly recommend that people look for a version of it and read it, because it will really give you a deeper understanding of Mande culture and Mande music.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. So what else have you got to play for us? What would you like to play in the time we have left, Balla?
Okay. This next piece of dedicated to myself, called Balla Folike in the Mandinka language, which means Balla play the balafon. Playing this instrument is my destiny, because how many people can they find out there today have the same name with their instrument? You know, yeah. I always make that that joke with all those the famous artists like Yo-Yo Ma, Bella Fleck, and I would say, okay, there's all in the top there, or Herbie Hancock, but none of them named after their instrument. So I'm only the one today who have the same name with my instrument. So this song also can be found in my album called Sababu, which means the reason. We all here for a reason. So Sababu, I hope, Balla Folika, I hope you guys can enjoy this. Thank you.
Very nice. Balla plays the balla.
Yeah.
The balla. Someone's written in to say that there's a famous tennis player whose name is Tennis.
Uh-huh.
So not quite the same, but did you catch that? Tennis. You know the game of tennis?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, well, apparently there's a player whose name is Tennis.
Oh.
So
Wow.
it's a little different, but
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, man, you just have such a very fluid technique. It's wonderful. Do you have like who I'm curious to know how your family, were they all musicians? Did you play like right from the very beginning? How did you get started? Who were the most important teachers in the beginning for you?
One thing I can tell you, and in Africa, you never alone. You always have the people around. Okay, I have such a big family. Of course, I learned from my dad, but I have a lot of older cousin and brother. We don't even say cousin. Everybody's a brother and a sister in Africa. You know that.
Yes, I do. It can be quite confusing for outsiders.
Right. So I have the oldest cousin who's from an early age really taking interest of me and seeing, I'm in love with this instrument. So it's always there to encourage me to play the balafon. So then my sister also was big, got a big head in the 90s. Kanimba Wule. Actually, she's the one. Huh?
That's your sister, eh? I didn't know
That's
that.
my sister. That's my sister. Actually, she's the one who I came here with. I came here to perform with her.
Huh.
In the first place in 2000.
Wow.
See, so all my brothers and sisters, it's all players. I mean, my brothers, the guitar player, they said the lead guitar player of the Tumani band, and Fantamadi, and all my brothers, brother and sister.
Yeah, Fantamadia, right.
Yeah.
Brother too, great guitar player.
Yeah, thank you. And then I remember in the all day when he used to come in Mali back in the 90s, and we was just young kid around, he was with the Jelly Madi and all those guys. Yeah,
It's a very nice time then. Yes,
I definitely remember those time.
Yeah.
Quite frankly, yeah.
So another thing I think people might find interesting is that you came you made the choice to basically make your career here in America and marry and live here, which is, I mean, it's you gain a lot, but you give up a lot too, right? By not being in that wonderful environment there. What was the point where you sort of made that decision, or did it just sort of happen by the way life goes?
Yeah, when I came here with my sister and after the performance, and she went back to Mali, and I said, well, I'm gonna hang around for a couple of months, and then I'll just meet you there. And of course, it wasn't easy because first of all, to learn how to speak the language in the first place, that was the hardest things. You see, so because we are French colony, we speak French. So I couldn't find anybody to speak French. So then it was at the point, it was at the time I was gonna go back. And I was like, okay, no, I don't think I can stay here, I'm gonna go back. But it was, a good friend of mine, Yakuba Sissoko.
Oh, yes.
We're the same generation, and we, know each other back home, but he came here to me. So great choral player.
Yeah.
So then he told me, he said, man, he's no Malian balafon player here, man. So please don't be discouraged. You just stick around. Things gonna be okay. You'll be fine. I was like, no, man, it's no way I'm gonna learn how to speak this language because it sounds so difficult, But he keeps telling me, no, stick around. Yakuba, Sissoko, Abulai Jabate, Tapani Damba, they all was a big part of
yeah, there's a nice community in New York. It's true.
So then I stick around, and then there was a good friend of mine And then Balla Kouyaté, also choral player who used to live here in Boston.
Mm-hmm.
So I used to navigate between Boston and New York, back and forth, until I met my wife. And then, and then when I find my wife, so that was it. That was the end of the saying I'm going back.
The final piece of the puzzle, they fell into place.
That was the final.
Yeah, so it wasn't a grand plan. It was just the way life went.
Yeah, exactly. That's how life goes sometimes, you know. So, and then all this amazing um, opportunity happened, and just thank God. I'm grateful for.
Well, we're all very glad you did. We're all the richer for it. And congratulations on that NEH award. I didn't know about that. That's incredible.
Thank you.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah.
So Balla, I guess we don't have a lot of time left. Oh yeah, Brian points out that you're teaching your own kids to play now too, right? How are they doing?
Then my kids doing great. I performed with them. I did a soul home session with my kid. My son will play balafon, play guitar, and my daughter, she's also played balafon. She played cello. And
Nice.
yeah, it's great.
Wow,
Definitely.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, it'll be a family band one of these days.
Oh, definitely. That's coming up. That's next. This family band is coming.
So I think we have time for one more piece of music. What would you like to play to sort of take us out?
This next piece, I'd like to play the song dedicated to the Kouyaté family, Kouyaté Fasa.
Huh.
And then I'm going to play that, and then just thanks all of the Kouyaté in the whole world. I mean, you know, not just all the Kouyaté, all the jelly on the earth. I'm just the big respect to all of them, but this particular song is dedicated to the Kouyaté family.
Great. So
Yes.
while you're playing that, I'll just say to the audience, if anyone else has any more questions, this is the time to send them in because we just have a little time left. All
Definitely.
Right.
And then before I play that Kouyaté piece, I'd like to thank people who make this possible for me today. The World Music Institute, Banning, big thanks to you for making this happen. Brian Kiger, the whole staff of the World Music Institute. And I'd like to thank everybody in Mali, especially the Jelly, because they recently, before I went to Mali this last trip, after my NEA fellow here, and I went there, the Jelly and the Mali, they wasn't really so welcoming, all of them, especially Sekuba Kouyaté, my uncle, everybody. I'm not gonna say everybody name here, but I just like to name that. And then big thanks to my government because they were so helpful to go in there with that word, especially the Minister of the Culture, the President of Mali, El Haji Ibrahim Keita. So big thanks to all of them. So I'm going to play my last piece. And for now, I hope you guys enjoy it. And thanks everyone for listening up today. Thank you.
Very good. Fantastic. Lionel Hampton, step aside, man. That's awesome. That's so great.
Thank you so much.
So I have a couple of questions here. One person wrote in asking about the song Lamba. He said you explained Sunjata and its meaning. Maybe you could just say a word about that song Lamba and what it means. I guess we have a fan of that song. I'm a fan too. I love that song.
Lamba, that song is played for all of the jelly group together. When you say Jelia, that's every people who practicing that Jelia today seeing themselves on that song. That song is not dedicated to any particular person.
Okay.